Mr Manson. He, of course, is the son of
Tony Benn,
the arch lefty.
who would have hated the idea of New Labour. That was not his politics at all.
Ran for the deputy leadership of the Labour Party in 1982, 83.
Wasn't he a hereditary peer and he renounced his hereditary title?
He was Viscount Stansgate and he renounced his title in the early 60s.
So that he could stand...
As it become an MP, yeah.
Amazing.
Fascinating.
Amazing story.
And now Hilary Benn's brother has taken the hereditary peerage.
Oh, so he didn't lose the title for the whole family forever?
The title was like in abeyance. And then when Tony Benn died,
it
Hilary
passed to
Benn's
his older brother.
Took the title.
How amazing.
We can now go to Prime Minister's questions. The Prime Minister's on his feet.
From the Secretary of State. 7. I give notice I intend to raise this matter on the adjournment.
What I would say is, the Honourable put it on the record his decision. What I would say, I'm not going to extend Northern Ireland questions. So I'm now going to move on to Prime Minister's questions. But before I do, I would like to welcome the President of Parliament, the Speaker himself, and I've got to say thank you to his delegation for arriving with us today from Estonia. So first of all, we now go to one said Toby Perkins for Prime Minister's questions.
Number 1, sir.
Prime Minister. I just said I didn't know the Prime Minister was that popular on this side.
Mr. Speaker, can I start by saying this? My thoughts, and I'm sure the thoughts of the whole House, are with the 2 children stabbed at Kingsbury High School in Brent. And my heart goes out to everyone affected by this appalling attack. We thank the police for their rapid response. It's important now that we give them the space to pursue their investigation. And Mr. Speaker, this morning I conveyed the UK's deepest condolences to Prime Minister Carney and the people of Canada for the devastating shooting in Tumbler Ridge. Mr. Speaker, I'm determined to fix the broken SEND system. No parent should have to fight for the support their child needs. Today we announced a 10-year plan to fix the crumbling school estate that we inherited, delivering a more modern and inclusive classrooms that meet the needs of every child. Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues. Now, there's been quite a few of those this week. In addition to my duties in this House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
Thank you. I'd like to associate myself with the Prime Minister's remarks there. The Prime Minister's commitment to 1.5 million more homes will require 48,000 new entrants to the construction industry every year. In Chesterfield, we're doing our bit. The Construction Skills Hub brought 70 new entrants into the construction sector, and we did see a welcome increase in numbers across the country last year. But we need a step change. We need numbers to double. So can the Prime Minister tell the House what steps he is taking to get more people to commit to construction industry careers and get those numbers up where we need them to deliver on his housing ambitions?
Prime Minister.
Well, my honourable friend is right. The task of rebuilding our country is a huge opportunity to give young people a brilliant career. And we're backing apprentices with a record £3 billion budget. And we're making sure companies who bid for major contracts commit to high-quality apprenticeships here in the United Kingdom. And, Mr. Speaker, we're creating 13,000 new opportunities for young people as plumbers, engineers and bricklayers, securing their future and rebuilding this country.
We come to the Leader of the Opposition, Kemi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And can I associate my side of the House with the Prime Minister's words on the horrific stabbing in North London yesterday, as well as the shooting in Canada? When he was Leader of the Opposition, the Prime Minister said, and I quote, "I never turn on my staff. When they make mistakes, I carry the can." What changed?
Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I've accepted responsibility and apologised for the mistakes that I made. But let me say this, Mr. Speaker. Morgan McSweeney helped me change our party and helped me win a landslide election victory, which delivered for them the smallest Tory party in over 100 years. And what's her great achievement? To make it even smaller.
Badenoch.
The whips have done a great job today. This is like the 37th. Oh, you said, yeah, exactly. Done a great job today getting them cheering. We all know that they've been sick for the last week. Because let's remember, Mr. Speaker, just last week, he told us that he had full confidence in his Chief of Staff, Morgan McSweeney. On Sunday, he sacked Morgan McSweeney. Last week, he resigned. Yes. Last week, Mr. Speaker, he was defending the Cabinet Secretary. Now he is sacking him. Yes. What changed?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, in January she said she had full confidence, 100% confidence, she said, be no more defections from her party. 48 hours later, the Shadow Foreign Minister defected. 8 days after that, the former Home Secretary defected. The only question now is, who's next? She needs to wake up. Her party is dying.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister is demonstrating stratospheric levels of delusion if he thinks the problem is on this side of the House. And he didn't say anything about why the Cabinet Secretary is going. We know the truth. It is because he is throwing everyone under a bus except himself. And, Mr. Speaker, the Mandelson episode was not an isolated incident. A few weeks ago, he announced a peerage for one Matthew Doyle, his former Director of Communications. Immediately after that, the Sunday Times published on the front page that Doyle campaigned for a man charged with child sex offences. Yet, despite the Prime Minister knowing this, he gave Doyle a job for life in the House of Lords anyway. Why?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Matthew Doyle did not give a full account of his actions. And on Monday, I promised my party and my country there would be change. And yesterday, I removed the whip from Matthew Doyle. I'll tell you what other action we've taken, Mr. Speaker. Along with the Safeguarding Minister, I and this government have introduced the most far-reaching violence against women and girls strategy. And I'll tell you what else we've done. This government has introduced a pay rise for millions of working-class women. What did the Leader of the Opposition do? She opposed it. This government's introducing greater protection for women at work. What did the Leader of the Opposition do? She opposed it. And I'll tell you what else she opposes. This government removing the disgusting rape clause that they put in place.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister pretends not to know about Matthew Doyle. It was on the front page of the Sunday Times. He cannot explain why he gave this man a peerage, and I think they should be wondering why they're still cheering for him after that. And the Prime Minister, sometimes likes to claim, as he just did, that he cares about violence against women. The truth is, he only cares about the victims when he's trying to save his own skin. Can shake their heads. We saw it with grooming gangs. We saw it with Mandelson. And now we see it with Doyle. Isn't that what a former prosecutor would call an established pattern of behaviour?
Mr. Speaker, I'm going to take no lectures from the Tories in standards in public life. She defended Partygate for months and months and months. And even now she says it was overblown. The Shadow Foreign Secretary broke the ministerial code by bullying. Boris Johnson kept her. The Leader of the Opposition promoted her. She sits on her front bench. Her former Shadow Justice Secretary complained about not seeing enough white faces in Birmingham, and she was too weak to sack him for racism.
Nobody buys it, Mr. Speaker. Not even the Labour women, because they know he always puts the Downing Street Boys Club first. And how dare he criticise us? We weren't the ones stuffing government with hypocrites and paedophile apologists. He can't build a team, Mr. Speaker. He has no plan. He can't even run his own office, let alone the country. He is now dealing with a new scandal of appointing someone who campaigned for a man convicted of having indecent pictures of girls as young as 10. Isn't the Prime Minister ashamed that that will be his legacy?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, my legacy is changing my party and winning a general election. And I'll tell you this, I kicked my former leader out of my party. Her former leader, Liz Truss, broke the economy and has descended into bonkers conspiracy theories. I kicked her out of Parliament. She's too weak to kick her out of their party.
Mr. Speaker, he hasn't apologised for appointing Matthew Doyle because he won't take responsibility. He never does, and they know it. The Prime Minister is now telling everyone that he's never lost a fight. It's because he won't step into the ring. He's never lost a fight. He's walked away from welfare reform. He won't stand up to the unions. He won't stand up to China. He can't even stand up to Mauritius. He's had, Mr. Speaker, he's had 3 cabinet secretaries, 4 chiefs of staff, 5 director of communications in just 18 months. And now he is mired in yet another scandal. Does he ever look in the mirror and ask himself, is the real problem staring him in the face?
Mr. Speaker, I delivered a landslide victory for our government. Only 4 people have ever led the Labour Party to victory in a general election. I am one of them. And she talks about numbers. Let us remember, Mr. Speaker, 5 Prime Ministers, 7 Chancellors, 8 Home Secretaries, 8 Foreign Secretaries, 16 Housing Secretaries, all completely useless, all failed Britain, and this Prime Minister's clearing up the mess. She comes here every week desperately fighting to save her dying party. I'm fighting to change our country. Interest rates down, inflation down, waiting lists down, child poverty down, and I'll tell you another thing's down, the number of Tory MPs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The government has delivered the funding needed to rebuild the new Frimley Park Hospital after the party opposite made empty, unfunded promises to my constituents. Now we urgently need to get on with announcing the preferred site, along with the investment needed to improve public transport, road access and parking. Will the Prime Minister urge NHS England to make this a priority and help give much-needed clarity to Bracknell Forest residents?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, delivering the new Frimley Park Hospital is a priority. Under the party opposite, his constituents were given totally empty promises. They failed patients and they failed staff. We put a proper plan and the funding to match, and the Trust are making real progress on the business case, and I want to see spades in the ground as quickly as possible.
Said David, Leader of the Liberal Democrats.
Mr. Speaker, can I associate myself with the Prime Minister's remarks about the dreadful stabbing of 2 children in Brent and about the horrifying shootings in British Columbia? Our thoughts and prayers are with the children's parents and the people of Canada, especially those grieving the loss of loved ones. Mr. Speaker, to appoint one paedophile supporter cannot be excused as misfortune. To appoint 2 shows a catastrophic lack of judgment. The Right Honourable Gentleman once told this House that when a Prime Minister refuses to take responsibility, and I quote, "It only serves to convince people that things cannot get better, that governments cannot improve people's lives, and that progress is not possible because politics does not work." Does he still agree with himself? And does he share my fear that that is exactly what is happening now?
Minister. People in this country, millions of people, have been let down for years and years and years. And one of the reasons was austerity, which his party supported. He should take accountability and take responsibility for what he has inflicted on this country.
Mr. Speaker, I think I touched a raw nerve. But I think the whole House will agree that the Manson scandal has shown yet again why we need a duty of candour. for anyone and everyone in public office. Mr. Speaker, there should be no more delays in putting the Hillsborough Law on the statute books. After the long fight by the bereaved families and so many others, like the Mayor of Greater Manchester, the Prime Minister once said it would be one of the first things he did in number 10. Will he finally do it now, even if it's the last thing he does?
Prime Minister.
The panel report in the Hillsborough case was when I started working on the Hillsborough case. That was in 2012, when his party were in power. And they could have passed this law a long time ago and saved a lot of grief. I'm proud that this Labour government is bringing in a Hillsborough law, something I've committed to for a very, very long time.
Richard Quidley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the Prime Minister will have heard me say, the Isle of Wight is a fantastic place to live, work and learn, despite the leader of the opposition trying to give us to China. He will also be aware of some of the challenges that we have in cross-Solent transport, reliability, frequency and price. The emissions trading scheme, which ironically only applies to hybrid vessels, may increase fares further. Despite exemptions granted for Scotland and Northern Ireland, the lack of grid capacity to fully decarbonise, I am deeply concerned about the impact on our island community. Will the Prime Minister urgently ask DESNZ ministers to review this issue?
Minister.
Well, I thank him for his question. I know how important affordable ferries are for his constituents' everyday lives. The ETS scheme will make journeys cleaner, and we're working with ferry companies on the grid connections in ports that enable greener vessels. I'll make sure that he gets a meeting with the relevant minister.
Stephen Flynn.
Mr. Speaker, if I've just listened to the Prime Minister correctly, he's essentially rolled the same pitch in relation to Matthew Doyle as he did with Peter Mandelson, that they weren't clear with him. He appears to be the most gullible former Director of Public Prosecutions in history. But he has a slight problem, Mr. Speaker, because some of us do read the newspapers. And towards the end of last year, indeed on the 30th of December, having written to the House of Lords Appointments Commission, I received a response from the Chair, who advised me that as part of their vetting, they provide confidential advice to the Prime Minister on the propriety of a potential nominee. Will he release that advice?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I've made my position clear. He knows how the system works. But, Mr. Speaker, he says he reads the newspapers. He will have read that in 9 days their former party chief executive goes on trial for embezzling money. And if he'll have read that the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, we see one of the worst failures in Scottish public life. Vulnerable children and adults put at risk. Evidence of serious warnings to the SNP government were ignored. He should have been looking at those, not looking at the newspapers. The First Minister should act because families deserve accountability.
Can I just remind the Prime Minister we don't discuss live cases because it's sub judice. Anna Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last week I met Leighton, a T-level construction student at Bradford College. He was working on the remediation of wrack at Airedale Hospital. In the last few years, Bradford has made tremendous progress in reducing the rate of young people not in employment, education or training. So will the Prime Minister reconfirm his commitment to vocational and skills training and set out how this Labour government is ensuring that young people like Leighton have career opportunities in construction and other critical industries?
Well, I thank my honourable friend. Leighton's success is a testament to what young people can achieve with the right support. We're creating technical excellent colleges and delivering training places for 60,000 skilled construction workers. And Labour's creating opportunities for every young person whilst building the homes, the schools and the hospitals that our country needs. And that's what I'm fighting for.
Rebecca Smith.
Last year, Plymouth was named the National Centre for Marine Autonomy and given a defence growth deal. However, the SMEs in the unmanned surface vessel sector, many based at Turnchapel Wharf in my constituency, are having their work held back because of out-of-date regulations from the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency. Last week, I was told that draft regulations exist, but that they require primary legislation. Now, without these new regulations, many of these vital SMEs developing autonomous vessels that have dual commercial and defence use are at risk. So, Mr Speaker, will the Prime Minister show some backbone and consider finding a slot for primary legislation as a matter of urgency, or at least consider adding it to the King's speech later this spring, assuming that he is still in charge of the legislative programme by then?
Mr Speaker, we are taking action, but in the particular case she raises in her constituency, if she sends me or my team the details, I'll see if there's anything we can do to support what is obviously an important issue.
Steve Race.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The Prime Minister will be aware of Lorraine Cox, a resident of Exeter, who in 2020 was murdered by a man whose asylum claim had been denied but who is not removed from this country. Would the Prime Minister set out what more this government will do to make sure deportations of people who have no right to be here and of those who have committed criminal offences will be sped up? And would he meet with Lorraine's father to discuss the family's campaign for justice for Lorraine?
Prime Minister.
Well, my honourable friend raises an awful case, and my thoughts and those, I'm sure, of the whole House are with the loved ones of Lorraine. Tackling violence against women and girls is a critical mission, and I'll make sure the Home Office Minister meets the family. I want to be absolutely clear, Mr Speaker, illegal immigrants who commit such appalling acts should not be in this country. That's why we've already removed nearly 60,000 people with no right to be here, and deportations of foreign criminals is up by a third. We're also reforming human rights law to allow us to swiftly remove those with no right to be here.
Luke Glover.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My Oxfordshire constituents are sick of widespread potholes, particularly at Milton Interchange, Didcot and along the A417 serving Challow and Stamford in the Vale. Yet the government is cutting fundings for Oxfordshire County Council by £24 million over 3 years, which is equivalent to its annual highways maintenance budget. The Prime Minister is of course entitled to dig a pothole for himself, but why is he cutting funding for Oxfordshire's roads?
Prime Minister.
We put a record amount of money into dealing with potholes. He needs to ask his council, run by his party, why they're not using that money.
Douglas McAllister.
It's a source of great pride to Scottish Labour MPs that as Chancellor, Gordon Brown lifted more children out of poverty than any other Chancellor before him. It's also a source of great pride that this...
Order. Mr Flynn, you don't need to cover your hand. I can still hear you. Your voice is louder than mine. Douglas McAllister.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. It's also a source of great pride that this torch is now passed over to our government, and by removing the two-child benefit cap, we will lift more children out of poverty in a single parliament than ever before. 2,260 children in Western Bartonshire, 95,000 in Scotland. Does the Prime Minister agree that this demonstrates true Labour values in action across Scotland and the UK?
Well, on this side of the House, Mr Speaker, we know the damage that growing up in poverty does to the life chances of children. The Tories put hundreds of thousands of children into poverty, and they'll live with that for the rest of their lives. We are undoing their damage. Our decision will benefit almost 100,000 children in Scotland as we deliver the largest reduction in child poverty in any single parliament.
Neera Wilson.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. The manslaughter of baby Gigi Meehan at a nursery in Cheadle. 21 counts of child cruelty at Riverside Nursery in Twickenham Green in my constituency. 56 charges of sexual assault and creating indecent images at a nursery in Camden. And just this week, 21 counts of sexual abuse at a nursery in Bristol. Mr Speaker, CCTV was critical for convicting the criminals in most of these cases. So will the Prime Minister ensure that no parent ever has to fear for their child's safety while they go to work by introducing mandatory CCTV in nurseries and a childcare workers register?
Prime Minister.
Can I thank her for raising these cases? And they're harrowing cases for everyone in this country. The safety of children is, of course, paramount, and we're acting to keep them safe. We're implementing all the proposals consulted on to strengthen safeguarding as part of our early years foundation stage framework. Expert group developing guidance on the effective use of CCTV, the point she makes, and considering whether it should be mandatory in early settings. And I'll make sure that she's updated as we take that work forward.
Catherine West.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. 126 years ago, this House legislated to make Alexandra Palace available for the free use of the public forever. And last year, Luke the Nuke changed darts forever by rewriting the record books. Today, Ali Pali plays host to World Championship darts, Master Snooker, Haringey Huskies, Greyhounds for ice hockey, plus music, comedy, drama and more. Will the PM today keep the Palace competitive as the international venue for darts by supporting my campaign to raise a one-off public-private £500 million investment for urgent capital improvements?
Prime Minister.
Can I thank my honourable friend? The People's Palace is an iconic British venue, a home for darts, snooker and world-class music. It's vital that we support brilliant venues that give so much to our cultural life. And that's why, Mr. Speaker, we're providing almost £200 million to preserve heritage buildings across the country. So venues like Alexandra Palace can have a bright future.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last week, Stark Bay was devastated by storm damage, homes and businesses wrecked, and an important A road severed. Thousands who used it to commute to school, work and healthcare are stranded, bus routes broken, emergency vehicles blocked. And the 300,000 visitors who come annually and underpin our fragile tourist economy now in doubt. But this is a place that has stepped up twice to defend our country. Once, when 1.5 million cubic metres of shingle were dredged out of the bay to build the naval dockyards in Plymouth, and again, when it was used as the training ground for the D-Day landings at a cost of 750 American soldiers' lives. It is also the site of a unique national nature reserve with rare species found only here. This storm damage is of national significance, so I ask the Prime Minister if he will ensure that the myriad of government agencies and departments needed will work together with experts to find and fund a sustainable long-term solution to the coastal erosion that is inflicting so much...
Order! It's a very important question, but I'm sure the Prime Minister must have got it in the first 2 minutes. Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Look, I know communities have been badly affected by recent storms, and damage to the A379 is very concerning. I'm pleased that she, I think, is meeting the Roads and Floods Minister today, I think. We are investing £10 billion to improve coastal and flood defences. And I want to thank the Environment Agency staff who are working hard right now, putting extra protections in place and supporting people ahead of further wet weather.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For too long, communities like mine in Bartley Green felt decisions were made about them, not with them. 14 years of austerity did not just close neighbourhood offices and youth services, it broke trust. Through Pride in Place in Woodgate, this government is helping residents restore the Woodgate Valley Cafe and so much more. What is the Prime Minister's message to my constituents about how politics can be a force for good and that he will never walk away from my community and the country we love?
Well, I thank her for a question. My message is that I've always believed that those with skin in the game make the best decisions about their community. And I know just how much her constituents want Woodgate Valley Visitor Centre back open. Together, I do think we can make that happen. And if you want to know, Mr. Speaker, where hope is in Britain is in our communities, and that's why we're investing so heavily in our Pride in Place initiative.
James Wilde.
Thank you very much. My constituents' mum, sister and stepfather were killed in a horrific dangerous driving crime, and the foreign national offender was sentenced to 10.5 years. But the family have just been told that he may be released imminently in order to be deported, having served just 3 years. Will the Prime Minister look at this case and what steps can be taken to prevent that release, given such a pitiful service time? 3 years for 3 lives would be the final insult and undermine public confidence in our justice system.
Prime Minister. Can I thank him for raising what is obviously a terrible case, and I'll make sure that it's looked into if he could provide further details so we can do it as quickly as possible.
David Pinto-Jasinski.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our democracy in this House relies on the spoken word, but many with speech disabilities are left without a voice. I have a speech impediment. So do 2 million adults and 1 in 12 children. It can rob people of their confidence, lead to discrimination, and limit our opportunities in work and in public life. It's time to tear down these barriers. Can the Prime Minister share with what this government is doing to help people with speech disabilities get the support they need so their voices can be heard?
Prime Minister. Can I start by saying he is a an inspirational and powerful campaigner on this issue. And by doing what he's doing, he will give great courage to other people to take the same steps. I'm proud we're increasing the number of NHS speech and language therapists. We're trialling new ways of identifying and supporting children with speech and language needs in their early years, because I agree that every child deserves the help they need to reach their potential.
Dr. Pinkerton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My Surrey Heath constituent, Christopher, was discharged from the RAF in 1966 solely for being gay. But despite the government committing to restoring the medals, the berets, and indeed acknowledging the injustice of those discharged from our armed forces prior to 1967, his case has been dismissed out of hand with only a letter that contained the track changes from the template that the MOD issued. So can I ask the Prime Minister to take a personal interest in this case to ensure that it's resolved swiftly, and to allow Christopher to march on Remembrance Day as he wishes to, with his medals and his beret and his dignity restored?
Prime Minister. I will do everything I can to ensure that that happens, which is absolutely what should happen. This was an absolute scandal, the gays in the military ban. And it's absolutely right that it was overturned, but we must follow through on that, and I'll do everything I can to make sure that we deliver on what he's asked me to deliver on.
Daniel Zeitner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last week, the government launched a consultation on establishing a growth development corporation for Cambridge. And in the meantime, Peter Freeman, the chairman of the Cambridge Growth Company, is on the record as saying we should aim to be the most livable city in Europe. That's a fantastic ambition, one which I entirely agree with. And I'd ask the Prime Minister, given that this will be good for growth, not just for Cambridge, but for the region and the wider economy, what more can the government do to help us, not least to help that generation of young people who can barely afford a home?
Prime Minister.
Well, his constituency is already home to brilliant research, innovation and economic growth. And through a greater Cambridge Development Corporation, we'll put in the powers and resources to unlock its full potential. I want to let local people have their say. We'll make sure that we create a fair plan with attractive, well-connected and thriving new neighbourhoods.
Tom Tugendhat.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the Prime Minister share with me the concern that while some ambassadors retiring in disgrace get tens of thousands of pounds in payoff, many other civil servants are failing to get the retirement that they are due and are expected to turn to their old departments for bridging loans? This is clearly a scandal. Would he put all of his effort behind making sure that those who have served with integrity are treated with the dignity that they deserve?
Prime Minister.
Yes, we are taking steps, and he's right, we should take further steps, and I think that will be agreed across the House.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The announcement that pubs and music venues would receive a much welcomed reduction in business rates is a positive step. However, in our manifesto, we did promise root and branch reform of business rates. Hospitality and leisure businesses in my Stourbridge constituency are facing a projected £20,000 increase in business rates over the next 3 years, along with employment cost increases and energy costs. Hospitality and leisure play a vital role for our communities, providing jobs and spaces to socialise. So will the Prime Minister consider a similar rates relief package for hospitality and leisure?
She's right that we need the conditions for flourishing high streets, and it underscores the importance of 6 interest rate cuts, the £5.8 billion that we put into Pride in place, and the work to put money in people's pockets. I'm pleased we've delivered a 15% cut and a 2-year freeze for pubs and live music venues. That comes on top of the £4.3 billion to support businesses and permanently lower rates for retail, hospitality and leisure properties.
Blackman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the Prime Minister for raising the stabbing at Kingsbury High School yesterday. It is absolutely right that we allow the police to get on with their job of investigating this terrible atrocity, and indeed the police are out there now providing reassurance to parents and people in the community. And indeed, I'm sure I speak for the whole House when our thoughts and prayers are with the victims, their families, and also those that witness this atrocity. But will the Prime Minister now look at what needs to be done to combat knife crime across the country? It is absolutely wrong that people are carrying knives in the first place when they don't need to, and indeed they're drawn into this terrible atrocity. We owe it to the victims to ensure this happens.
Prime Minister.
Can I thank him for raising this case? And it's one of the most powerful and important things that we do as MPs in this place, particularly when there's such awful cases. And he's absolutely right. We must do everything we can to reduce knife crime. There are initiatives and steps we've taken to remove the accessibility of knives where they can be bought. We need to do much more work with our schools and young people to ensure that people don't carry knives. And we need to work with the police and law enforcement to make sure that these incidents are investigated as quickly and as effectively as possible. And I think that's a shared endeavour across the House.
Sarah Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In my constituency, the beautiful Grade 2 listed Chetwynd Bridge on the A513 between Eddingale and Alwas has been restricted to cars and light vans since October of 2023. So farmers are facing a 25-mile diversion, and with severe flooding now hitting Eddingale multiple times a year, this vital route risks being cut off for emergency response times as well. Bridges like this, with a clear economic impact on communities, should be the focus of the government's new Structures Fund, which I welcome. So can I ask the Prime Minister to encourage his ministers to meet with me so that we can find a solution to this issue for my rural constituents in town?
Well, can I thank her for raising this issue, and just hearing her makes it absolutely clear that we need to find a solution to this, so I'll make sure that she gets the meeting that she is requesting with the relevant minister so we can move as quickly as possible.
Ayab Khan, final question.
Mr. Speaker, rubbish is building up right beneath my very nose. It's becoming... It's becoming a serious problem in Birmingham. In Birmingham, bin strikes are now running over close to 2 years. So can I ask gently the Prime Minister to intervene and perhaps speak to the leader of Birmingham City Council to see if he can re-enter negotiations with Unite the Union?
Yeah, he's right to raise this, and we're doing everything we can to resolve the situation, which absolutely needs resolving.
That completes Prime Minister's questions.
And that was Prime Minister Keir Starmer taking questions for the last time for a brief recess next week. It seemed pretty fighty to me, but never mind what I think. What did you think? And, first of all, what did our political editor, Chris Hope, think? Chris, you've been watching it all from inside the House of Commons chamber.
That's right, Gloria and Tom. I was watching the back of the head of Wes Streeting 7 places along from the PM, Sir Keir Starmer, just wondering when was Kemi Badenoch going to point to Wes Streeting and say he wants your job and so forth, or even mention maybe Wes Streeting criticism of the government's economic strategy, or even mention Anna Sarwar saying it's time the PM moved on. But Kemi Badenoch didn't do any of that. She talked about the issue of Matthew Doyle, the former director of comms, being made a peer despite campaigning with a man charged with child pornography offences. He, of course, is now Matthew Doyle, now not taking the whip in the House of Lords, but remains a peer. I think it was a 6 out of 10 performance by Kemi Badenoch. She didn't go after what may have gone more a wider issue, I think, discussing people behind the scenes that no one's really heard of, and not talking about the economic strategy was a miss, I think, and not talking about Anna Sarwar's criticism was another miss. Don't forget, we won't be seeing the Prime Minister in PMQs again for 2 more weeks. I thought there's quite a striking mention there by Stephen Flynn, the SNP MP. He said in terms, didn't he, that why on earth did you fail to look further, go deeper on the issue of Matthew Doyle's suggestions there about what he said before he got his peerage. The PM said that Doyle failed to answer the questions properly, and of course praised Morgan McSweeney's former Chief of Staff, attacked Robert Jenrick. He was all a bit all over the place in the Prime Minister, I think, but he got through that unscathed. I think in a sense Kemi Badenoch let him get away with it, and that's probably an issue for her. I'm only judging her really against the rather high performance she has set herself in recent weeks.
Well, Chopper, thank you very much indeed. Live from inside Westminster Hall, the heart of it all. Let's now jump to our studio. Delighted to be joined by the Labour MP for Bury North, James Frith, and the Shadow Business Secretary, Andrew Griffith. Well, James, we're going to start with you. One of our viewers has written in to ask about Lord Doyle. It's not a story that's been so widely discussed, perhaps until now. One of our viewers says, Starmer says Lord Doyle didn't tell me about his past, just like Mendelssohn, that they don't do security or background checks, we give the boys jobs. Sounds a little incredulous.
Look, I think your viewers, as with myself, when you learn of yet another potential issue like this within the Lords, the sigh is very real, and I sighed very hard to hear of yet another emerging possible scandal. The investigation is underway. The whip has been taken from Lord Doyle. He has to answer to that investigation. The process, whilst being followed, it clearly, in my view, and indeed the Labour government's perspective on this, is that the process needs rewriting. We can't have a situation where people are qualifying for elevation and not enough checks or not enough balances are being done. But it's a pretty exhausting time, and I would have every sympathy with your questioner and viewer who is exasperated at such news.
I mean, this does seem fairly extraordinary. There are some fairly publicised cases of Conservative appointments to the House of Lords when they were in office that got rejected. Famously so. I can think of two off the top of my head right now, and yet when it's the Labour government, there's an appointment, despite the front page of the Sunday Times pointing out this individual campaigned for a man charged with child sex offences. That appointment still happened. Why?
Well, the people making the appointment need to answer that.
That's the Prime Minister.
Well, the process, as I say, he has said the investigation is now underway into that appointment. The process itself
He made the appointment. Is he investigating himself?
Well, no, he's going to replace the process, but a wider issue here is standards of public life. We've actually introduced tougher measures on the standards in public life, but clearly regarding the elevation to the House of Lords, that process doesn't sound fit for purpose. It's right the investigation be allowed to conclude, and I would think that we'll learn sooner than later, because politically it's a completely unacceptable situation to find ourselves in again.
Andrew Griffiths from the Conservatives. Whatever difficulty the Prime Minister finds himself in under the appointment of Matthew Doyle, it's got nothing to do with your party. It's all to do with the Sunday Times journalism. Your leader has never mentioned it thus far. Do you accept that? You're just jumping on a bandwagon now?
No, not at all. I think she was right to raise. This is a big opportunity to raise something of great concern, and it speaks to the Prime Minister's judgment, right? So that is what today is about, is putting the Prime Minister on the spot. It's the one time a week that we as the opposition get to do that. She was absolutely right to raise the case of the paedophile apologist, appointed in clear sight to the House of Lords by this Prime Minister after he'd made a paedophile associate the ambassador, His Majesty's ambassador to Washington, the most sensitive post. And I think you'll see this one run and run, right? I heard what Chris said, but I think there's more there to come out. It speaks to the Prime Minister's judgment. He always says, you know, on a Wednesday afternoon, he's got full confidence in people. You know, the next day, the next few weeks, they're gone. And once again,
he didn't say he had full confidence, and we heard what we also.
Well, he said that about Morgan McSweeney. He said that about Peter Mandelson.
Yeah, and he
didn't say that today, but it is about his judgment.
Morgan resigned, and he paid tribute to Morgan and the changes that he saw to the party and then the country with the manifesto that won the election handsomely. But we also heard what Christopher said, gave it 6 out of 10. Kemi Badenoch, going into half-term, into recess, failed to mention anything that resonates with the people of Gorton and Denton by-election or the wider country.
I think you're insulting the people of Gorton and Denton. If you think that they want a paedophile apologist appointed at the sole discretion of this Prime Minister into the House of Lords, a peerage for life to be a legislator, you ought to apologise to the people of Gorton and Denton.
There is no apologist in view. None of that, and none of the issues that Kemi Badenoch has raised in the final session of this term pays any bills in Bury, where I represent, and the people, the constituency, the viewers, the readers, the questioners, they want to know why Kemi Badenoch hasn't raised the fact that economic performance is improving. The dashboard of our economy, bills are getting better
on that,
to manage.
I agree with Wes when Wes says that there is no economic strategy for growth.
That was 18 months ago.
Well, he's absolutely right. Well, I still don't see it because
growth
the UK,
is back.
Growth this year for the
growth
UK economy
wages
is
are up,
lower
inflation's
than
down,
Albania,
interest
Greece,
rates are down,
and Mexico. So if that is a growth strategy, bring it on.
Well, Jay said, another viewer, said it was a weak performance from Kemi. She phrased her questions in such a soft way that he could just bat them straight back. And I think it perhaps is a point that Matthew Doyle or Peter Mandelson or whoever should not have been appointed to the House of Lords. It doesn't really affect the pound in your pocket if you're watching, if you're broke.
I thought the
West Streeting line from those private messages, I think that was a gift. I would have absolutely gone, the government has no growth strategy. That's what people care about. They're hurting this government, they would argue, are not helping quickly enough or fast enough. You went on a Westminster bubble issue.
I don't think that's right. I think that Morgan McSweeney was not a household name until the Leader of the Opposition used that to rightly call into question the Prime Minister's judgment. Matthew Doyle, I accept, is not a household name, but he is a paedophile acquaintance who is appointed by this Prime Minister using his judgment to the House of Lords. That does affect all of us. Why does it affect all of us? Because this Westminster distraction caused by repeated failures of judgment of the Prime Minister is stopping us getting on with growth, is stopping us fix the waiting list in the NHS,
but it
is stopping the government fixing the bugs.
Andrew, well, it isn't stopping us because the NHS waiting lists are down and economic growth is up, interest rates are down, inflation is down. Getting by is costing less nowadays.
This is the sort of gaslighting
it's
that Labour do about the economy. Unemployment.
I did a shift on...
Tell me about unemployment. Unemployment has gone up every month of this government. 1 in 6 young people are now employed. The UK this year will grow slower than Greece, Albania and Mexico.
I did a shift on Bury Market last week. The same week I met with a banking group and both sides, both ends of the economy are telling me the same thing. Things are getting better. Bury Market's had the best Christmas. Footfall is up. People have got a bit more money in their pockets because of the Labour government. And your leader decided...
If doing that well, you must be the only place in the United Kingdom because
it's got a good MP. It's got a good MP. You're absolutely right.
It's got a great MP, second only to the members of Arundel and South Downs. But if you haven't got the rising unemployment that this government has given this country in every single month it's been in office, then good on you. But explain that to the rest of the country.
Gentlemen, we're going to pause that one there. There is a lot more to discuss and a lot more to dig into.
And a lot more of your questions.
Absolutely.
Thank you for sending them.
gbnews.com/your say, as ever, is the way to reach out to our panel. And remember, this programme is different because it's all about your questions. Well, do stay with us. We're going to take a quick break now and we'll be back with you in just a couple of minutes' time.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Another wet day for many of us to come. There will be some drier weather, though, particularly across southern areas and across the far northwest. Things will be turning chillier as we head towards the end of the week, though, as this area of low pressure slowly pivots around and that will sink to the south, allowing northerly winds to move in. So there's an increasing risk of snow as we head through the latter part of this week. But for today, plenty more rain, particularly across many northern areas. We do have a rain warning for parts of eastern as well as southwestern Scotland, where we could see 40 millimetres accumulating through the day, bringing some travel disruption. Further south, some brighter spells through this afternoon. It's still relatively mild for the time of year down here as well, but that will change as we head towards the end of this week. Now, across many southern areas, after a break in the rain, the next batch of wet weather will push in through this evening, affecting many southwestern areas of England and then further north overnight. Across much of Scotland, Northern Ireland and some parts of northern England as well, some fairly persistent drizzly rain will linger through this evening. The rain will turn to snow above around 300 to 400 metres, particularly across parts of Aberdeenshire and Perthshire. And throughout this evening, very little change in the way of rain for many northern areas. This batch of rain across the south, though, pushes into more southeastern areas. It will clear through the early hours of Thursday morning, and there will be some dry weather, but a lot of cloud around overnight tonight. Quite a murky night to come wherever you are. and those northerly winds are pushing in across the far north. So you see temperatures falling away down to around -3 across some parts of Scotland. Quite a brisk wind, though, so that's going to keep temperatures up a little bit. But a cold feel to come tomorrow for many north and eastern areas of the UK. Now, the rain won't be quite as heavy on Thursday. Actually, some far northern areas of Scotland will see some dry and sunny weather. And across the far southwest, we're still holding on to that milder air, and there will be some breaks in the rain. Bye-bye.
Thank you for making us Britain's #1 news channel. Together, we have built something truly extraordinary.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. Travellers on the A9 Badenoch Bridge should exercise extra caution as strong winds are severely affecting driving conditions, thus making it potentially hazardous. Meanwhile, in the rail sector, East Midlands Railway is facing significant service disruptions on the route between London St Pancras International and Luton Airport Parkway due to ongoing maintenance works. Additionally, South Western Railway is reporting substantial disruptions affecting services between Clapham Junction, Barnes and Wimbledon, primarily attributed to signal failures. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome back to PMQs Live. We are still asking your questions of our panel, the Labour MP for Bury North, James Frith, and the Shadow Business Secretary, Andrew Griffith. I do want to just say, because we were talking about Lord Matthew Doyle before the break, I just want to sort of say that, to quote his words in his statement, which said, "Those of us who took him at his word were clearly mistaken. I've never sought to dismiss or diminish the seriousness of the offences for which he was rightly convicted." Just want to put that on the record as... that is the right thing to do, as he is not here to defend himself.
Right, let's get to your questions. Robert has written in to say he was watching PMQs, James, and he said, "Not one thing about the country. It's distracting for Parliament to run a country this way. It's just scandal, scandal, scandal."
Not one thing. I mean, I heard more than one thing on one subject. The Prime Minister obviously has to answer the questions posed to him, and we did have NHS special educational needs and a great range of topics. But I completely get the frustration that Robert references, and part of the disappointment is that these very often internal fights or Westminster bubble stories prevent us having the necessary conversation with our constituents about the things that really matter, the things that we really are getting on with changing.
The Prime Minister has spent the best part of this week ringing round his cabinet colleagues, begging them to produce supportive statements of his leadership. He's put teams in government onto disclosing documents and going through appointments that he made that he himself said was a mistake, not once but twice. I mean, this is a very chaotic way to run a country.
I get that the drama is unattractive and people do not need more of this drama, the psychodrama. It's why I'm pleased that the possibility, the prospect this week of another leadership election, that we did, in fact, as a PLP, Parliamentary Labour Party, pull up on any change of leadership in any leadership election. It's the right decision. I came into politics to change the country. I have a faith in politics being the best force for good. This week doesn't promote or support that argument, I get, because people lose faith. It's why we've got to work doubly hard to point at the progress that we are making.
Did you think you'd be this much like the Tories were?
Absolutely not. I think if we were like the Tories, we would be headlong into that leadership election. It's precisely because we've looked over the way and the 5 prime ministers in as many years and said, not, absolutely not for us, absolutely not now, and that's the right decision. I want to get to a point where we're quickly demonstrating the change that is underway because people are feeling it.
I want to bring the Conservative Andrew Griffiths in. I mean, it does feel exactly to that point, exactly like it did under your government, but you have to own the state of that government, whether it be Partygate, Chris Pincher, the Tory MP who resigns as an MP after admitting watching pornography twice in Parliament. I mean, I could go on, but we'd run out of airtime.
Yeah, and that's why we were vanquished at the last election. The Labour Party didn't win. We lost that election. We're under new leadership. Those standards were unacceptable then, they're unacceptable now from this government. And we do need to move beyond that. I came from a meeting to the studio today with some desperate owners of local pubs and hospitality businesses. They can't make the sums add up. They're having to work out which employees to let go, whether they can keep going for a few more months. This is no way to run a country. We do need proper leadership. And the only reason that Keir Starmer is still here is because James and his party cannot agree which of the candidates they want to replace him with.
Let me put to you, what is extraordinary given recent events? I'm sure James will be the first to admit that this has not been a government that has gone as it intended to do. There have been lots of missteps. There have been lots of scandals. Yet, opinion poll, the latest opinion poll, one today, Reform are on 30, Labour on 23, you're on 21. So even in this state of affairs, you're still behind Labour. You've got a long way to go, haven't you?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. We've got work to do. We're rebuilding the party. We're coming up with policies like scrapping stamp duty, helping businesses up and down high streets up across the country by exempting most small businesses from business rates, solving the small boats issue with a proper plan.
Because you have.
But I'm agreeing with you. We've got work to do.
I don't think viewers will be comforted by the co-author of the mini budget, Andrew. You stood up and sponsored Liz Truss's disaster on the economy, so they should take no comfort on.
OK, well, James Frith and Andrew Griffith, thank you very much indeed for coming to the studio. That's the end of the programme, I'm afraid.
I'll be here in 2 weeks. When PMQs returns, he's staying with you for 2 hours. Keep watching.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Another wet day for many of us to come. There will be some drier weather, though, particularly across southern areas and across the far northwest. Things will be turning chillier as we head towards the end of the week, though, as this area of low pressure slowly pivots around and that will sink to the south, allowing northerly winds to move in. So there's an increasing risk of snow as we head through the latter part of this week. But for today, plenty more rain, particularly across many northern areas. We do have a rain warning for parts of eastern as well as southwestern Scotland, where we could see 40 millimetres accumulating through the day, bringing some travel disruption. Further south, some brighter spells through this afternoon. It's still relatively mild for the time of year down here as well, but that will change as we head towards the end of this week. Now, across many southern areas, after a break in the rain, the next batch of wet weather will push in through this evening, affecting many southwestern areas of England and then further north overnight. Across much of Scotland, Northern Ireland and some parts of northern England as well, some fairly persistent drizzly rain will